Guys, we're back with the Screen Team right here on KWOC, being joined by Jake. We've got a lot of good movies to review for you this evening. We got done with a great foreign film called The Final Fortress, and also we're getting ready to do one called Blade Runner. That's here in just a few minutes. But first, we're going to do a film called AI. This film was kind of in production limbo. I shouldn't say limbo, but it was in production for a long, long time. Stanley Kubrick had his name on it for quite a little bit, and then he passed away. Steven Spielberg took the mantle. AI was delivered. What did you think about it?
It's Pinocchio. that's the biggest thing, and the movie doesn't hide the fact that it's Pinocchio with a more modern kind of setting. I think the acting is great in this movie. It's kind of on the depressing side a little bit, but I think it definitely has that Kubrick vibe to it, and I think Spielberg did the best he could to make it appealing to as broad as an audience as possible.
Yeah.
I think he tried to, it's like, well, I'm going to try to do a Spielberg thing, but I'm going to pay homage to Stanley Kubrick because this is a great project. And I don't know. I just don't know if it worked because I don't remember the movie having a whole lot of success right out of the gate.
Yeah.
But it's a movie I've always enjoyed. I kind of have to be in the mood for it. But the acting is great. It's got an excellent cast, and piece by piece, if you kind of take scenes from the movie out of context, maybe not so much out of context, but if you were to like watch certain scenes on YouTube, you know, those scenes taken apart are really good, but watching it as a whole stretch can be a little bit tough. It can be a little bit difficult. This was definitely one that it's great to have the pause feature. So you have to get up and take a break for it. But the first few times I saw it, I sat through it the whole way, and I was just like, oh, I don't feel so good.
It's an interesting film as far as the fact that, Spielberg, which I was surprised, he directed the film, but he also wrote the screenplay too. And he hadn't done that since, I can't remember the name of the film, but he hadn't done it like in 25 years. He hadn't written a screenplay. So that was kind of surprising that he had a lot of his fingerprints on it, but still, like you said, he paid a lot of homage to Stanley Kubrick, and you can tell it with the tone of the movie. Not maybe with the style, but definitely with the tone. How it's just, it's brutal.
It is. It really is. But I mean, it'll do that to you. You'll go through a long stretch of just like, oh, how worse can it get? And then it'll just be like a shining little ray of light for a minute.
Yeah.
And then even the shining rays of light, like at a point at the end of the film, I think you'll probably know what I'm talking about. I'll just say the words Blue Fairy.
Right.
And it's just like, oh, all right, so he's going to be happy. Oh, wait.
No, not exactly.
This is depressing.
It ends on somewhat on a bittersweet note. He finally gets what he wants, and who we're talking about is Haley Joel Osment's character, David, who's kind of like
an android.
He's an android, but like the best android that's ever been.
Most human, yeah. I think his, adoptive father was worked at the cybernetics company and working on coming up with really, perfect AI kind of analog humans, I guess.
Yeah, and they did a really good job with this one. And like you said, it was adopted by a family who at the time had lost their young son, and so they're trying to get situated and adjusted with this particular boy, and at least the mother falls in love with him, maybe not the father so much, and there's a connection there with the mother and David. But then problems occur when the real son comes back, and then the movie gets to way depressing from there, man.
Yep.
What'd you think about Jude Law's character?
Jude Law's character, I think it's almost overuse of a minor character. I really liked the character, and I think that's why he got extended, but he didn't have a whole lot of purpose. He was on screen way longer than his purpose intended, I think.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that,
That's kind of how I've always felt about the movie. Like, I love this character, but this character does nothing for the plot.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we can kind of build him in as a narrator.
Yeah.
It's like an on-screen narrator. And movies have done that successfully, breaking the fourth wall and stuff. But this is just a character in the movie who's kind of telling you what's happening when you're watching what's happening.
What did you think about the special effects in this movie? At the time, it was, a lot of it was groundbreaking. Stan Winston did a lot of the animatronics and imagery with that. What did you think? Does it still hold up today?
I think so. It's definitely a little bit dated. You can tell it's a little bit dated, but I think it's a great blend of practical effects and your CG effects, which were really good CG effects for the time.
Yeah, I agree.
There was a lot of kind of groundbreaking stuff going on with that really fast, all in that point in the early 2000s, and it looked really good, especially at the time. I remember when it was new, it looked amazing to me. I could think of some other movies that came out that had CG at that time that was not so good.
Yeah,
and probably were more popular movies. But if you're looking for a great visual movie, just you don't have nothing to do on a rainy Sunday afternoon, just sit and watch this movie. It's worth renting it just to watch through it, and you might not be happy at the end.
You won't.
But you'll be. It'll be like you'll be glad you had this experience, but you're not going to be so much happy with the way the story turns out. I hate to tell people that up front, but a lot of people, like me, that doesn't always matter. It's like I can go into a movie knowing that it's not going to have a happy ending, but if the story is good enough, it's worth the watch.
See, I don't mind that either. I'm not all about the happy endings either, but you just come out just feeling like, you feel like you got punched in the stomach after watching this film. It's just. It can be brutal at times.
By a cute little boy.
By a cute little boy and a Teddy Ruxpin wannabe, Really quickly, this is a hard question for you to answer, but I'm just kind of curious. Do you think this movie would have been better or more successful if Kubrick would have stayed alive and been able to complete his vision?
I think if Kubrick would have completed this movie as he intended it, I don't think it would have been a major popular success, but I still think it would have been probably a cult success.
Okay.
But it's hard to say. That's just something that is really, really hard to answer, because it could have been like the next
Blade Runner, or
maybe not quite Blade Runner. It could have been somewhere in between Blade Runner and The Shining. I think Kubrick could have pulled something off like that.
Cool.
So.
All right, the movie is called AI, and of course you can find it on DVD. Coming up after the break, we're going to review a movie we just mentioned. It's called Blade Runner. We'll do that next on KWOC.